Imagine standing just inches behind a heavy velvet curtain.
Oh man, my palms are sweating already.
Right. You have exactly 60 seconds before you have to step out into these blinding lights and deliver literally the biggest presentation of your entire life.
That is just pure, unadulterated terror right there.
It really is. Your heart is hammering, your palms are slick, and right at that fragile, hyper-vulnerable moment, your supposed best friend leans in and whispers in your ear.
Oh no, I know where this is going.
Yeah, but instead of saying, you've got this, they casually remind you that your entire career rests entirely in the hands of the deeply judgmental executive sitting in the front row.
Which is just, I mean, it is the absolute last thing you want to hear in that moment.
Exactly.
You are already in a state of like high physiological arousal, and someone just casually walks up and pours gasoline all over your internal panic.
It's the worst. And welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. I'm your host, and today we are looking at exactly that kind of nightmare scenario.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to get into this one because it is incredibly relatable.
It really is. So we are taking a single transcript of a 3-minute BAFTA comedy sketch starring David Tennant, and we are basically putting it under a psychological microscope today.
Yeah, our source material might look like just a simple YouTube promo on the surface.
Right, just a funny little bit.
But our mission today is to show you why it is actually this masterclass in the anatomy of performance anxiety.
Oh, absolutely. We are going to extract all those underlying psychological truths hidden beneath the jokes.
Because there's so much there. We're looking at the evolution of stage fright in the internet age, the mechanisms of how our brains betray us, and how cultural pride can actually act as literal psychological armor.
It's quite a journey. We are going from pure existential dread to finding actual power.
And, the brilliance of this specific sketch is that it uses this highly visible, incredibly high-stakes framework of an awards show.
Right, the British Academy Film Awards.
Exactly. It uses that to map out a completely universal human experience. I mean, it dissects how we handle pressure.
And maybe more importantly, how the people around us subtly influence our internal state when we are under that pressure.
Yes, exactly that.
So we are starting right at the beginning of the transcript with the very first interaction David has backstage before he steps out.
Right, he's in the holding area.
Yeah, he's pacing around, clearly very much on edge. And his scene partner, who, by the way, we should note, affectionately calls him Babe, which implies this very close peer-level relationship.
Well, for sure. They're clearly very comfortable with each other.
Yeah, so this partner asks if he's all right. And David is remarkably honest for someone in that industry.
He really is.
He confesses. He says, I'm a bit nervous about tonight, presenting this in front of a room full of all my acting heroes.
And see, that phrasing is so crucial right off the bat. Acting heroes.
It's so revealing, isn't it?
It really is, because he is an incredibly accomplished, globally recognized actor himself.
Right. He's David Tennant.
Exactly. But in this specific moment, under the immense pressure of the spotlight, his brain instantly defaults to classic imposter syndrome.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he completely diminishes his own status.
He does. He doesn't view the audience as his peers or his colleagues anymore. By labeling them heroes, he is voluntarily placing himself in a subordinate psychological position.
He's looking up at them instead of looking across at them.
Exactly. He is telling his own nervous system that he is lesser than the people he's about to face.
Okay, let's really unpack this, because what happens next is just a vicious comedic pivot.
Oh, it's brutal.
You would completely expect his friend to say, David, you're Doctor Who, you're a Shakespearean legend, you absolutely belong in that room.
Which is what a supportive friend would do.
Right. But instead, the scene partner says, well, you don't need to worry about that. You need to be more worried about the filmmakers and the producers and the casting directors and what they're going to think if you mess it up.
I mean, it is just a breathtaking escalation of stakes.
It's insane. It's like realizing you aren't worried about the paint job on your house anymore because you're suddenly worried the foundation is built on a sinkhole.
That is a perfect analogy.
The fear moves from aesthetic to structural. He goes from wanting artistic validation from his heroes to being terrified for his actual economic survival because of the casting directors.
Right, the people who actually write the checks.
Exactly. But wait, I do have to push back just a little bit here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because when I read this, I don't necessarily see a friend trying to intentionally sabotage him.
You don't think so?
Not necessarily maliciously. I mean, is this maybe just how people in hyper-competitive, high-stakes industries playfully diffuse tension.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Because sometimes looking directly at the absolute worst-case scenario is a bizarre kind of coping mechanism among high achievers. Like, hey, at least we aren't dying.
You know, that's actually a really valid reading of the dynamic. In high-stakes environments, whether that's elite acting, professional sports, or high-level corporate law, there's absolutely a culture of gallows humor.
Right, it's very common.
And the psychological mechanism there is basically exposure therapy. By stating the most terrifying taboo reality out loud, you theoretically strip it of its power.
You bring it into the light.
Exactly. You're essentially saying, we both know the monsters in the room, so let's just point at it and laugh.
Right. It's an acknowledgement of the shared absurdity of their whole industry.
It is. But structurally, within the internal logic of David's panic attack in this sketch, it functions as a catalyst for a spiral.
Because he wasn't ready for it.
Exactly. The scene partner takes David's somewhat romanticized fear, the fear of not being respected by his artistic idols.
Which is a very noble kind of fear.
Right, and he replaces it with cold, hard, existential terror. And the human brain, when it's flooded with anxiety hormones like cortisol, it doesn't just process fear logically.
It definitely doesn't.
No, it actively hunts for the most structurally damaging threat in the environment. So when the friend points out the producers and gatekeepers, David's amygdala immediately lashes onto that as the primary threat.
Because it's a threat to his actual survival, not just his ego.
Precisely. It shifts the entire power dynamic of the room. He is no longer an artist sharing a space with other artists. He is basically an employee auditioning for his bosses.
And David realized instantly that this gallows humor is not actually helping his specific nervous system in that moment.
Not at all.
He replies, kind of dryly, and here was me thinking you'd pop by just to wish me luck.
Which is so funny, but so sad.
It is. And that leads us directly into the next phase of this psychological dismantling, where the scene partner just systematically strips away David's remaining safety nets.
Yeah, the banter just keeps going. The partner points out a very specific change from the previous year's performance.
Oh, this part is brilliant.
They casually observe, it's just that last year you had the dog, and this year it's just you, isn't it?
The dog. I love this detail so much because it speaks to a very real psychological concept.
Oh, absolutely it does.
Like in cognitive behavioral therapy, they talk about safety behaviors or safety objects.
Right, things we use to self-soothe.
Yes. When you are standing in front of a massive crowd, holding a clipboard, or maybe standing behind a really thick wooden podium, or in David's case, having a literal dog on stage with you.
It absorbs some of the audience's attention.
Exactly. It gives your brain a secondary focal point. It deflects the pure, unadulterated focus of thousands of eyeballs staring right at you.
It acts as a neurological buffer.
Yes, a buffer. So by pointing out that the dog is gone this year, the partner isn't just making a casual observation about the run of show.
No, they're digging the knife in.
They are essentially saying there is zero barrier between you and the judgment of this entire room. You are entirely physically exposed.
And stripping away that safety net forces the performer to face the absolute reality of their own isolation.
Which is terrifying.
But the partner goes even further to deepen that sense of being totally alone.
Oh, right. The milestone comment.
Yes. They say, with this absolute breezy confidence, well, you know what they say, third time lucky.
Oh, man, that hurts to read.
And David, who is already vibrating with anxiety, has to correct the factual record of his own life to his close friend.
He replies so quietly, "This is my second time hosting."
That moment is just so subtly devastating. It perfectly captures the cognitive dissonance of being a performer.
How so?
Well, when you are the one in the spotlight, this event is the center of your entire universe. You have been agonizing over the script, the timing, the wardrobe for months.
All you think about.
Right. And then you realize that the people around you, even your close confidants, aren't actually paying attention to your milestones.
They don't even know what number gig this is for you.
Exactly. It unmoors you completely. You expect to be anchored by this person's familiarity with you, and when they get a fundamental detail wrong, you realize their investment in your terrifying moment is entirely superficial.
That is so true. And the scene partner immediately confirms that superficiality with their parting shot.
Oh, the goodie bag line.
Yes. When David corrects the count to 2, the partner doesn't apologize or look embarrassed at all.
They don't even care.
Not a bit. They just shrug it off and say, oh, well, film awards aren't really my thing, so I'm just here for the goodie bag.
And that line about the goodie bag is actually a pretty devastating critique of the culture surrounding high society events.
Okay, tell me more about that, because to me it just sounds like a funny, cynical Hollywood joke.
Well, it is a joke, but look at what it does to David's internal stakes. David is treating this stage as a sacred altar.
Right, he's terrified of his heroes.
He is vibrating with reverence for the artists and terror for the filmmakers. He is treating the event as a monumental, life-altering crucible.
Which it is, for him.
For him, yes. But his partner nonchalantly reminds him of the transactional, highly cynical reality of these industry galas.
Oh, I see.
For a massive portion of that room, this isn't some holy communion of artistic souls. It is a mandatory networking event where they get free, luxury skincare products.
Oh, wow, yeah. It completely shatters the illusion of prestige.
It does.
The partner is basically saying, you are agonizing over your legacy and your artistic worth, and I'm honestly just trying to get a free designer tote bag.
Exactly. It highlights the complete absurdity of the pressure David is putting on himself.
Because the stakes feel like literal life and death to the host, but for the attendees, it's just a Tuesday night.
Right. It completely deflates his ego. And, when you are anxious, being told that the thing you are panicking over doesn't actually matter to anyone else. That doesn't comfort you.
No, it just makes you feel foolish for caring so much in the first place.
Precisely. It's the ultimate backfiring pep talk.
Yeah.
The partner says, okay, have fun, see you, babe, and just leaves David in a significantly worse mental state.
His safety net is gone, his artistic validation is a joke, and his economic survival is on the line.
He is at rock bottom.
So, having been completely demoralized by a peer in the earthly realm, David realizes human support is not going to cut it.
He needs something bigger.
Yeah, his psychological defenses have been entirely breached. So he does what humans have done for millennia when facing insurmountable odds.
He looks for supernatural intervention.
Exactly. He literally says out loud to the empty room, I really need the gods of BAFTA to help me now.
And because this sketch operates in this slightly magical, heightened reality, the universe actually answers him.
It's such a great moment.
He turns to his dressing room mirror, and a vision appears. He gasps, and then he sees her. Oh, Dame Helen, your majesty.
None other than Hollywood royalty, Dame Helen Mirren, manifesting in the glass.
It's brilliant.
I really love how the sketch plays with the magical mentor trope here.
Oh, it leans right into it.
We see this in every fantasy epic. The hero is at their lowest point, staring into a reflecting pool or a crystal ball, and a wise, ethereal figure appears to grant them the exact blessing they need to face the dragon.
And David treats her with absolute reverence.
Calling her Your Majesty, which perfectly blends her real-life status as this esteemed actor with her famous Oscar-winning portrayals of British monarchs.
Right. He's seeking pure, untainted validation from the highest possible authority.
And for a fleeting second, he gets exactly what he asked for.
He really does. She looks at him from the mirror and delivers this incredibly soothing, authoritative line.
What did she say again?
She says, now listen, darling, you're going to be amazing when it comes to hosting the BAFTAs. There really is nobody better.
I mean, imagine hearing that from Dame Helen Mirren.
You would feel invincible.
David is instantly relieved. He says, oh, that means a lot, thank you. He thinks the interaction is over.
He thinks he's received his magical armor.
But comedy, much like anxiety, requires that the relief is immediately snatched away.
Yes, the mentor trope is so brilliantly subverted here.
Dame Helen stops him from walking away and says, let me finish.
And then she takes that soaring, absolute praise and crashes it into a hyper-specific, utterly mundane logistical caveat.
It's so jarring.
She finishes her sentence saying, nobody better call David, who's from Scotland, within the available budget.
Within the available budget. It is such a phenomenal punchline.
It really is.
But, I want to talk about the psychological sting of the conditional compliment for a second.
Oh, let's do it.
Because why do we find hyper-qualified praise so universally painful? I think it's because we all harbor this deep, secret desire to be the singular chosen one.
Right, the hero of our own story.
We want to be selected because we possess an unquantifiable, unique magic that makes us the absolute, undeniable best, not just the best option available.
And this joke introduces the cold reality of commodification into a moment of sought-after spiritual validation.
Yes.
A magical mentor pulls back the curtain and basically reveals a corporate spreadsheet. She narrows his supremacy down to a microscopic demographic.
People named David.
Right, of Scottish descent, who didn't ask for too high of a day rate.
Which is just so funny, but I actually read that moment slightly differently when I was preparing for this.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's entirely about commodification, at least not maliciously from her end.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
I wonder if it's a deliberate technique by the mentor to ground him. Think about it. If she tells him he is a magical deity, a singular genius, he might actually panic more because the pressure to live up to that is impossible.
Oh, that's an interesting angle.
Right. By telling him he's just a guy on a spreadsheet who fit a budget, she drastically lowers the stakes. Does the psychology support that at all? Like, is she actually doing him a favor by bursting his ego?
You know, that is a fascinating counterinterpretation. Yes, from a paradoxical intention standpoint, bringing a spiraling person down to earth with brutal, mundane facts can sometimes snap them out of an anxiety loop.
Like splashing cold water on their face.
Exactly. However, looking at David's reaction in the sketch, it doesn't really seem to work that way for him.
No, he looks crushed.
Because the way it's delivered, reducing him to a line item, it feels incredibly dehumanizing.
That makes sense.
It's actually a lot like how modern job hunting feels for you and me.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Right. You spend your entire life building these unique skills, and then an ATS, an applicant tracking system algorithm, just scans your resume.
Yes.
It reduces a lifetime of human achievement and passion into a binary yes-no cost analysis based on a few keywords.
Oh man, that is exactly why this joke hits so hard. It's the ATS resume scanner analogy.
It perfectly captures that feeling.
No matter how much of a star you are, no matter how much you're revered as an artist, you're always subject to the algorithm, or in this case, the available budget.
You're just a data point.
And it completely deflates the regal authority of the interaction. You have a literal dame acting as a mystical vision, and her profound wisdom is essentially just repeating the notes from an HR budget meeting.
It's brilliant writing. And David's response proves your point that it didn't comfort him at all.
It really didn't.
It is a masterpiece of defeated acceptance. He just quietly says, means a lot less now.
Yeah. The supernatural intervention has completely failed.
The gods of BAFTA are just as constrained by corporate finance as everyone else.
His isolation is now complete on both a human and a spiritual level.
But the universe is not done with him yet.
Oh no, it gets worse.
Because just as he processes the failure of his magical mentor, he is hit with a completely new, uniquely modern brand of terror.
Enter a character named Jim.
Right. Jim walks by the dressing room and offers some unprompted thoughts. And David, still desperate for any kind of lifeline, pleads with him.
He says, come on, you've got to have some words of wisdom for me, right?
And Jim's intervention marks the most crucial pivot in our analysis today, I think.
How so?
Well, the fears David has faced so far, peer judgment, gatekeeper power, budget constraints, those are all traditional performance anxieties.
Right, they've been around forever.
Exactly. They have existed for as long as humans have gathered around a fire to watch someone tell a story. But Jim introduces the listener to the modern panopticon.
The modern panopticon. Let's get into this.
Jim says, look, David, this is your chance to shine in front of the whole world. Every tiny little thing that you do will be watched by millions, hundreds of millions, billions.
And David immediately tries to logically reject this.
His brain is looking for a rational out.
Yeah, he stammers out that the math is wrong, that the viewership of the BAFTAs is absolutely not in the billions.
But Jim corrects him. And this is the genuinely chilling part of the sketch.
It really is.
Jim clarifies. He says, no. If you screw up and become a meme, it'll be billions. And that stuff stays on the internet forever.
Wow.
This represents a profound societal shift from traditional broadcast anxiety to what we might call meme anxiety.
Meme anxiety. I love that term.
Think about it. In the era of traditional broadcast television, a mistake was ephemeral.
It happened and then it was gone.
Right. If you stumbled over a word or tripped walking up the stairs on a live broadcast in 1995, a few million people saw it live. They maybe chuckled about it at the water cooler the next morning.
And then it just faded into the ether.
Exactly. It was protected by the linear flow of time.
Right. If someone didn't have a VHS tape perfectly queued up to record it right at that second, the mistake essentially ceased to exist within 24 hours.
It was forgiven by forgetting.
But think about the listener right now. Think about the last time you had to give a presentation on a recorded Zoom call for work.
Oh, the pressure is immense.
The anxiety isn't just that your boss is watching you live. The anxiety is the deeply unsettling knowledge that if you trip over your words, or if your cat jumps on your keyboard in a funny way.
That video file exists on the company server forever.
Exactly. That is a micro version of what Tennant is experiencing here.
It absolutely is. The fear of making a mistake is no longer just about the immediate embarrassment in the physical room.
No, it's way bigger than that now.
It is entirely eclipsed by the fear of being permanently immortalized as a digital joke. And what makes a meme so psychologically damaging is the decontextualization.
Okay, break that down for me. What do you mean by decontextualization in this setting?
Well, when you become a meme, you lose control of your own narrative entirely.
Because it's out in the wild.
Right. A meme takes a single microscopic fraction of a second, a slightly awkward stance, a weird facial expression because the stage lights caught your eye, a momentary vocal crack.
Something you couldn't even control.
Exactly. And it isolates it. It removes the 2 hours of brilliant hosting you did prior to that moment.
It erases all the good stuff.
Yes. It loops that singular failure and broadcasts it to a global audience of billions who have no idea who you are or what the context of the event was.
You cease to be a complex human being, and you just become a flat symbol.
You become a template for other people's jokes.
It perfectly mirrors the concept of the panopticon that the philosopher Michel Foucault wrote about.
Yes, I am so glad you brought up Foucault.
For those who aren't familiar with it, Foucault described this theoretical prison design where all the inmate cells are arranged in a circle around a central watchtower.
Right, the guard is in the middle.
And the guard in the tower can see into any cell at any time, but the inmates cannot see into the tower. They don't know where the guard is looking.
Which is key.
Because the inmates never know exactly when they are being watched. They have to assume they are always being watched.
And what happens psychologically in that kind of environment?
The mechanism of self-policing takes over. The inmates essentially become their own wardens.
Letting internalize the surveillance.
Exactly. And the internet has basically turned every public stage into a global panopticon.
That is a terrifying but incredibly accurate way to put it.
Jim is explicitly telling David that every single micro-expression is being monitored by billions of invisible wardens sitting in the digital watchtower.
Just waiting for a slip-up.
Waiting to punish him with eternal digital infamy.
Neurologically speaking, this is devastating for a performer.
I can imagine. It has to freeze you up.
It does. Because to perform well, to find that flow state that athletes and actors talk about, your brain needs to feel a certain degree of psychological safety.
Right, you need to be relaxed.
But when you introduce the panopticon effect, the possibility of eternal, uncontextualized mockery, the brain's amygdala treats that possibility as an active physical threat.
It thinks you're actually in danger.
It floods the body with cortisol. You cannot be spontaneous. You cannot be charming when your brain is actively bracing for a permanent public execution.
Wow. And Jim just finishes his words of wisdom by concluding, actually, I'd hate to be in your shoes right now.
And then he just walks away.
He just leaves them there. It is the final nail in the coffin of David's confidence.
He's completely destroyed.
He has been told his peers don't care about his milestones, his bosses are judging his every move, his uniqueness is just a budget constraint, and his inevitable failure will be mocked by billions of people until the end of time.
The pressure is mathematically impossible to bear at this point.
The anxiety has reached its absolute suffocating peak.
Which means, from a narrative structure standpoint, this is precisely the moment where a true mentor must step in.
Finally, some relief.
Yes, we have thoroughly dismantled the performer. The sketch has explored basically every facet of stage fright. Now, it must show us how to rebuild him.
Enter Captain Cox.
Yes, the energy in the script shifts completely here.
You can really feel it when you're watching. Captain Cox arrives, and unlike everyone else who is focused on external factors, you know, the producers, the budget, the global internet audience.
The things David can't control.
Right. Cox shifts the focus entirely back to David himself. Specifically, he focuses on David's clothing.
Which seems like a weird pivot at first.
It does. He says, David, come on, you've got this. You'll win him round, and you're looking sharp in that kilt, man.
But this is actually a remarkable psychological pivot.
How so?
By drawing attention to the kilt, Cox is doing a few things. First, he is anchoring David in the physical reality of the present moment.
Bringing him back into his body.
Exactly. Pulling him out of his futuristic doom spiraling about internet memes.
That makes a lot of sense.
But more importantly, He elevates the clothing beyond mere fashion. He tells David, and remember, that's not just a piece of clothing. It's a symbol of pride, tradition, and strength. And you're carrying the spirit of Scotland with you.
Oh, this brings up one of my absolute favorite psychological concepts, sartorial armor.
Let's talk about it.
We tend to think of clothing as just fabric, right? Something to cover us up. But it holds immense psychological weight.
You're referring to enclothed cognition, right?
Exactly. And clothed cognition, it's not just about how other people perceive you. It's about how the clothes you wear literally alter your own internal cognitive processes.
Yes, the research on this is fascinating.
There was that really famous psychological study where researchers gave participants a white coat.
Oh, I know this one.
Yeah, so when they told half the group it was a doctor's lab coat, those people actually performed significantly better on tests requiring intense focus and attention.
Because they adopted the traits they associated with doctors.
Exactly. But when they told the other half it was a painter's smock, that heightened focus didn't happen at all.
Even though it was the exact same physical coat.
Yes. The physical experience of wearing the clothes, combined with the symbolic meaning the wearer attaches to them, it actually changes brain chemistry.
That is a perfect parallel to what's happening here.
Right?
The kilt, in this context, is not merely formal wear. It is a physical manifestation of heritage.
It's his doctor's coat.
Precisely. When Cox tells David he's carrying the spirit of Scotland with him, he's providing a direct, potent antidote to the crippling isolation David felt earlier.
Because remember, the scene partner made David feel like his individual milestones didn't matter.
And the internet made him feel like a solitary target for billions of strangers.
But Cox reminds him that he belongs to a lineage, a history, a deeply rooted community.
It's like he's saying, you are not just David, the nervous actor hoping not to become a meme.
You are a representative of an entire culture.
You have an army of ancestors standing behind you.
I love that. It diminishes the isolation because it expands his identity from the fragile individual to the resilient collective.
Yes, the collective provides safety.
When you connect to a larger purpose or a deeper root like that, the immediate superficial judgments of the executives in the front row start to matter a lot less.
They seem tiny in comparison.
Exactly. The kilt becomes a literal psychological shield against the immense pressure of the room.
And, you know, it raises a really important point about how we all navigate alien or hostile environments.
How do you mean?
Well, think about where David is. He is in the hyper-elite, highly manufactured world of a global film awards ceremony.
A very artificial environment.
Very. It is a space where identity can very easily be swallowed up by generic Hollywood glamour and corporate expectations.
You just become another guy in a tuxedo.
Exactly. But by leaning heavily into his specific Scottish heritage, he reclaims his authenticity.
He stands out on purpose.
He anchors himself in something real and enduring. The sheer weight of that cultural history makes the ephemeral opinions of a casting director seem appropriately small.
And you can feel the energy in the transcript physically change at this exact moment.
It really shifts gears.
Empowered by this reminder of his cultural armor, the dialogue fundamentally transforms. It moves away from the frantic, choppy, breathless banter of anxiety.
And it moves into something else entirely.
It moves into the ultimate expression of defiant joy. Music.
Yes. Cox begins speaking in a very distinct, rhythmic cadence.
You can hear the beat starting.
He says, come on, we can do this. When you stand up, well, you know what I'm going to be? I'm going to be the man who stands up next to you.
And David registers the shift in the rhythm. He has this great moment of dawning realization where he says, oh, we're singing?
And they launch straight into it.
They do. A customized parody of the Proclaimers' massive, iconic hit, 500 Miles.
Which is such a perfect choice.
They sing about going out, getting drunk, and havering to you, which, by the way, in context, means just absolutely babbling nonsense at each other.
It's the ultimate pub behavior.
Exactly. But we really need to break down the physiological release of this transition into song.
Oh, we absolutely do, because it is the core of his transformation.
Throughout the entire sketch, we have been building tension through rapid-fire, dialogue-heavy anxiety.
Just constant talking.
David's mind has been racing with logical arguments, catastrophic predictions, and mathematical viewership calculations.
Breaking into song provides an immediate physical and emotional catharsis.
So how does that actually work in the body? Why is singing the antidote to panic?
It's all about regulating the nervous system.
Okay, tell me more.
When you are trapped in anxiety, your breathing becomes very shallow, right?
Yeah.
You exist entirely in your head.
You forget you even have a body.
Right. But the physical act of singing bypasses the rational, anxious part of the brain entirely.
Because it forces you to breathe differently.
Yes. It requires deep diaphragmatic breathing. And doing that actually stimulates the vagus nerve.
Ah, the vagus nerve.
Yes, which is essentially the body's superhighway for communicating rest and safety back to the brain.
So by singing, he's basically tricking his brain into calming down.
It forces the body out of the defensive, hunched posture of fight or flight and into an expansive, outward-facing posture required to project a melody.
You literally have to open up your chest.
Exactly. You cannot physically sing properly while your body is bracing for an attack.
You know, that is the exact reason musicals exist as an art form.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The core rule of musical theater is that when an emotion becomes too big, too overwhelming to be expressed in mere spoken words, a character must sing.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
David's anxiety was too big for dialogue. But equally, the cultural pride and strength that Captain Cox ignited in him, that is also too big, too triumphant for standard dialogue.
It demands a melody.
Exactly. And the specific choice of song is deeply intentional and psychologically significant.
Oh, is that an accident?
They don't choose a polished, traditional Broadway show tune, which might feel artificial or overly rehearsed in this context.
Right, that wouldn't fit the vibe at all.
They choose 500 Miles by the Proclaimers.
It is a massive pub anthem.
It is a song characterized by its raw, stomping energy, its thick, unapologetic Scottish accents, and its themes of fierce, relentless, almost aggressive loyalty.
It perfectly pays off Cox's pep talk about the spirit of Scotland.
Exactly. It's a song you sing with your arms thrown around your mates, spilling a pint, shouting at the top of your lungs at midnight.
It is the absolute antithesis of the stiff, formal, highly judgmental atmosphere of a black tie awards show.
Exactly. By singing this specific song, David is fundamentally rejecting the restrictive rules of the environment that was terrifying him.
He's not playing by their rules anymore.
No, he isn't trying to fit into the polite, quiet mold of the BAFTAs. He is bringing the rowdy, communal energy of a Scottish pub directly into the Royal Festival Hall.
He is rewriting the terms of his own performance.
And as the song builds, the parody elements become really apparent.
Yeah, he starts changing the words.
David uses the customized lyrics to directly address the anxieties that were crippling him just moments before. But now, he is doing it from a position of absolute power.
He has completed his transformation.
He went from a terrified, passive victim of the event into the active, commanding master of ceremonies.
Let's hear the lyric change.
He sings, "But I would walk 500 miles, and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to host one BAFTAs more."
Let's spend some time deconstructing the specific lyrical shoutouts he does next, because they serve a brilliant comedic and psychological function.
Yes, let's get into the shoutouts.
As he sings, he starts weaving the actual names of the famous people sitting in the audience right into the lyrics.
Which is such a classic host move.
He sings, "When I'm working well, I know I'm going to be. I'm going to be the man who's working hard for you, Selena."
Selena. And this is a masterful move of audience control.
It really is. Think back to the first part of our analysis, where David was paralyzed by the fear of his acting heroes.
Right, they were this terrifying mass of judgment.
Exactly. The audience existed in his mind as an intimidating monolithic block, a faceless wall of critics.
But by singling out an individual Selena, he shatters that monolith entirely.
He turns a terrifying crowd back into individual human beings.
And by saying he is working hard for her, he uses flattery to build a bridge.
It's very smart.
He is establishing an immediate personalized rapport. It's incredibly disarming. I mean, you can't be intensely judgmental of a host who is currently singing a personalized, flattering serenade directly to you.
Not in front of millions of people, anyway.
Right. It forces the hero to become a willing participant in his charm offensive.
Then he moves to the next line. He sings, "And when the money comes in for the work I do, I'll pass almost every penny on to Hugh."
Wait, let me jump in there because I absolutely love the mechanics of this specific joke.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Award show hosts traditionally use their opening monologues to kind of roast the celebrities in the room.
It's expected, yeah.
But this line about passing his money on to Hugh operates as a mild, affectionate industry in-joke.
It does.
It implies this hidden dynamic of debt, or maybe a joke about agents taking all the money, or just the sheer absurd financial disparity in Hollywood.
Exactly. By making an inside joke about money, He signals to the room that he is an insider.
He belongs there.
He speaks their language. He understands the unspoken rules of their world.
He is actively claiming his status.
He isn't an imposter begging for their approval anymore. He is one of them, sharing a laugh about the absurdities of their shared profession.
And then he pivots to the institution itself.
Right, the BAFTAs.
He sings, "When I come home, oh, I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home to you, BAFTA."
And this directly neutralizes the gatekeeper anxiety we discussed earlier.
The fear of the producers and casting directors.
Exactly. By framing BAFTA not as a faceless corporation, but as a home, he replaces the image of a sterile, judgmental entity with an image of warmth and loyalty.
He is publicly declaring his allegiance to the institution.
It flatters the executives he was terrified of displeasing, but he does it on his own terms, through song.
It's so clever.
Yeah.
And the final specific shout-out is perhaps the most crucial for his ultimate psychological grounding.
I agree completely.
He sings, "And if I grow old, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who's growing old with you, lucky Georgia."
Georgia, of course, referring to his real-life wife.
Yes. And this is just a beautiful piece of charming self-deprecation.
It really is. By calling her lucky to grow old with him, he is leaning into this faux arrogance.
Which is entirely hilariously at odds with the crippling insecurity he showed at the start of the sketch.
It is confident, it is cheeky, but most importantly, it grounds him in his real personal life.
It reminds his brain and the audience that beyond the glitz, the pressure, the producers, and the internet memes, he has a real solid foundation.
His actual life is safe.
So let's step back for a second and look at the incredible psychological roadmap we have just analyzed within this short script.
It's been quite a ride.
We started with a performer who was absolutely paralyzed.
Crushed by the shift from seeking artistic peer validation to fearing corporate gatekeepers.
And then he was systematically deflated by a friend who stripped away his safety objects and reminded him of his profound isolation.
He sought magical intervention, only to be told his worth was dictated by an HR spreadsheet.
He then faced the ultimate modern terror, the inescapable panopticon of the internet meme economy, where a single decontextualized mistake results in eternal global infamy.
It's amazing he even walked out on stage at all.
I know, right? But his salvation did not come from pretending the pressure didn't exist.
No, it didn't come from toxic positivity.
His salvation came from putting on his sartorial armor, connecting deeply with the historical weight of his cultural pride.
And using the physical and emotional regulation of a raucous pub anthem to rewrite the rules of his own engagement.
He took the terrifying acting heroes and turned them into active, smiling participants in his own narrative.
It's a masterclass in psychological recovery.
It really is. And this connects so deeply back to you listening to this deep dive right now.
Absolutely it does.
Because while you might not be hosting the BAFTAs anytime soon, we all have our own versions of that terrifying stage.
We all face those massive presentations, the high-stakes job interviews.
The Zoom calls where we feel incredibly exposed.
We all experience moments where we fear the judgment of our peers.
Where we dread the power of our bosses.
And where we feel the weight of the digital world waiting to catalog our failures.
The anxieties David Tennant modeled in this sketch are entirely universal.
We all have a Jim in our heads reminding us of the worst-case scenario.
And we all desperately hope for a magical mentor to guarantee our success and tell us we are undeniably the best.
But the real takeaway here is the mechanism of how we overcome it.
Yes. So, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today.
Something to take with you.
Think back to that velvet curtain we talked about at the very beginning of the show. When your heart is pounding and you have 60 seconds before you have to step out onto your own terrifying stage and the voices around you are telling you to be afraid.
What is your metaphorical kilt?
Exactly. What is the physical, cultural, or personal symbol of pride and strength that you can put on?
What is the armor you use to remind yourself exactly who you are before you walk out and face the room?
Keep exploring the sources around you, find your armor, and we will see you on the next deep dive.